Sam Logue here for Green Blood Boxing. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Black Thunder, Caoimhin Agyarko. Caoimhin, how you doing,
Good,
bud?
Sam. Couldn't be better. Coming into fight week, so looking forward to next Saturday.
Excellent, excellent. I take it then from that you're feeling good, you're feeling ready.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm ready. I've been in camp for 12 weeks. Got the last week coming up. Been the longest camp of my career. Do you know what I mean? And I've put myself in the best shape possible. But yeah, I'm ready. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to be back out. Haven't fought in 6-7 months, so it's good that I have a date and I'm looking to progress again.
Absolutely. So you say that it's been a long camp. How has camp actually been for this? Well, for this fight, we know you don't have an opponent as of yet. I don't think so. How has the camp been? And obviously, a fairly long time out of the ring, 6-7 months. But yeah, talk us through. I'm kind of interested in how the camp was, but also kind of the breakdown of the camp. You know, how's camp life for you, and how's it been kind of day to day?
Yeah, do you know what? It's been unreal. It's been without doubt the best camp I've ever had. I know everyone says that each fight, but genuinely, this has been the best camp I've ever had and the best shape I've ever been in, the fittest I've ever been. So there's no excuses on my part. I'm just looking forward to getting in there and putting a good performance on. Like I said, it's been a 12-13 week camp. It's very long for probably, it may not be a title fight now and probably not a known opponent, but do you know what? I'm glad it's been that long, because I've had time to get weight off over lockdown. Do you know what I mean? I put quite a few pounds on over Christmas and lockdown, and I've had time to go out and spar Billy Joe and then just focus and work on my style and perfect my craft and work on certain things. Is where sometimes camp's just about losing weight, and sometimes you get a date where it's only 6 weeks until fight date or something, and it's just rush to get the weight down. Is where I've had 12 weeks and I haven't struggled to lose weight, or haven't. It's just been everything's just been about getting technically better rather than losing weight. So camps went good.
Excellent.
I can't complain.
Excellent, because that was going to be my other question. Like, what is it about the camp that made it that kind of the best camp ever? But I suppose you just answered it. The fact that you've been able to actually work on your ability and work on technical stuff and not just focus on losing weight, which is amazing. I suppose, like, are most camps then, as you said there, most camps are really just weight kind of losing, based on losing weight more so than kind of improving. Is that something that you think, is that something that most boxers do? And do you think that that's actually something that I suppose most people should try not to do? They should try and be kind of in the gym more often, and then when they are in camp, that they're still able to work on things, and it's not just a weight loss exercise, so to say.
It's not really what my camps are normally like, but I've had a couple of camps where I've got a phone call. You've only got 2 weeks to get ready. You've only got 4 weeks to get ready, or 6 weeks to get ready. And so I mean, 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks is all right for a 6 or 8 rounder. But like my last 2 fights have been 10 rounders. This fight's 10 rounders. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would like to give myself 8 to 10 weeks to prepare. And if I've only got 6 weeks, it's more about losing weight. And if you've only got 7 weeks, it's kind of losing weight while trying to focus on technically getting better as well. So I'm not sure what way other fighters would work, but I'm sure when it just depends on when you get the phone call or how much notice you've got. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, fair.
If I've got 7 to 8 weeks or 10 weeks, I'm focusing on technically getting better, because the weight's going to come off anyway. But if I've only got 5-6 weeks or less, then it's kind of, you've got a rush to kind of get the weight off and stuff like that.
Definitely. So tell me about this camp in particular. Like, how did it go structurally? I think that's kind of something that maybe we don't hear that much about, is like, how did it actually, in terms of like everything that it consists of, so sparring, different kinds of drills, like at different stages in the camp, you're maybe doing different things, or just the focus shifts from maybe one area to another. So how was it like from start to finish? and kind of talk us through the camp and like what it's like being in camp, what your days are like.
Do you know what? It's like I had 2 fight dates originally at the start, so it was meant to be the 1st of May and then the 22nd of May. So camp was kind of all over the place because I come back. I had 6 or 7 weeks to prepare for the 1st of May. I went out and sparred Billy Joe for 10 days to 2 weeks. And then my fight date got pushed back. So we were kind of ahead of schedule at that stage where I got pushed back. So my coach said, right, go back home, take a couple of days, not take a couple of days off, but like still train, but not, you can take a couple of days off sparring and see your family and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Because whenever I'm in camp, I don't spend time with family because they're back in Belfast with my friends and stuff. So then I come back home. I was getting prepared for the 22nd of May, and then my fight date got changed again. So I was well ahead of schedule then because I was literally peaking and sparring and stuff like that. So then I went home for another 4 days and then come back. But yeah, do you know what? We gauge it as we go through the weeks. Like I spar twice a week. Some people would spar once 3 times a week. Personally, I used to get bad hand injuries, so we limited our sparring to only twice a week, and we do certain rounds so that I know that I'm not going to get injured. Do you know what I mean? If you get injured, you get injured, but we try and not take any risks. But do you know what? We started off doing 6 rounders for a couple of weeks, and then eased our way back into 8 rounders and 10 rounders, and then towards the end of camp, you just like my last 2 spars, I did a 6 rounder and 4 rounder. Do you know what I mean? So that's the way my coach would kind of gauge the sparring rounds throughout the week. So, or if he feels like I'm peaking too soon, he'll say, right, we're not sparring today or something like that. I do strength conditioning twice a week, and then over the other days, I just can made up of runs and boxing sessions, like pads and stuff like that. So, that's basically the way my camp planned out.
Exactly, man. Yeah, it's interesting with all the different the dates being proposed and then the pushbacks and all. I suppose it does really messes it up. It's not like a 8 weeks of start to finish. It's kind of all over the place.
Do you know what it is? It's a bit, sometimes people think professional game goes so smoothly, but it's far from it. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes it can be messy, but I've got a good team behind me, and in terms of like my coaching and strength conditioning coach. So I speak to my strength conditioning coach, even though I'm only with him twice a week. Sorry, I speak to him near enough every day, and it'll be like, how are you feeling? How was that session? What did you do in that session? Or I'll send them through like my heart rate monitor stuff, and he'll be like, right, you're kind of peaking based on these numbers. So on Friday or on Saturday, just go for a walk instead of a 40-minute jog or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So we gauge everything throughout the weeks and make sure that we're pushing limits, but not pushing too much at certain stages. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to overdo it.
Yeah, 100%. It sounds like it's really well monitored and really professional approach, and like you're controlling what you can control within that kind of chaos. You know what I mean? That you can't control. You know what I mean? Dates being pushed back, things that you can't control, but what you can't control, you're doing really well, it seems. We'll move on to the fight. Obviously, June 5th. Supposed to be, as we talked about before, and as you mentioned there, supposed to be for the WBC international title. I think that's correct. But you're saying there maybe there's a bit of doubt around that now because probably more to do with the opponent, right? You can't get the right opponent. They can't put the title on the line.
Yeah, do you know, it's been a messy one because nobody wants to fight me.
That was going to be my next thing. Yeah.
Nobody wants to fight me, and then the WBC won't sanction someone to fight for the belt who aren't credible enough to fight for it. So it's been a messy one. We're trying to get the right opponent. As a team, we're trying to get an opponent that's right for me as well as right for the title and stuff like that, because there's no point me going in and I'm risking everything just for a title. Do you know what I mean? 100%. Just for a belt. So I mean, I've got to be ready for that opponent at this stage in my career, as well as wanting to fight for the title. But it's been very, very tough to get an opponent. We did have a Mexican opponent, and he's pulled out last minute, so it's very unfortunate. But these things happen in boxing. Do you know what I mean? It's like I always say, it's out of my control. If I can't control it, then I don't worry about it. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
My one of my my amateur coach taught me about a valuable thing in life was control the controllable. And if you can't control it, then don't even stress about it. Do you know what I mean? So,
Exactly.
you know, as much as it annoyed me that it possibly isn't going to be for a title, I know that on June 5th, I've still got to get in there and do a job, regardless of who it is or what it's for. So I'm fully focused on that.
100%. And that's it, man. You can't, no point stressing about the things that you can't control, as you say. It is, though, I would say, quite frustrating at times. Something I find very interesting about you is, as we see the difficulty for your promoter in getting you fights, we start to question, well, what does that actually mean? Like, does that mean that you're going to have to step up the levels maybe a little bit quicker than you anticipated to be able to get fights? And because we know, I mean, it's quite obvious as well to see what level you're at and how good you are. But because it seems to be difficult to bridge that gap at the moment with you, where you can't get that opponent that you really like, does that mean we're going to have to see you in maybe a slightly harder fight than you had anticipated, maybe a bit earlier?
Possibly. Do you know what? It could be that case, but whenever I'm ready to step up, I'll step up. Do you know what I mean? I won't be forced into any fights just because people won't fight me. If I'm ready for them fights, I'll take them. If I have to take certain risks and I feel like I'm ready or I'm on the brink of being ready, then I'll take them. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be fighting journeymen or people with padded records. I want to be tested. I want to be proving myself. And but at the same time, I also need to. I've only been in the pro game 2.5 years. I'm 24 years old. I need to be getting the right learning fights at the right time, and just progress nicely. Do you know what I mean? There's
Definitely.
no point jumping in, being a small fish jumping into the big pond. Do you know what I mean? And as much as I believe in myself and know how talented I am and how good I am, I still gotta take my time. But I'll be ready for the big fights and for them step ups, and I'm progressing nicely and I'm doing everything right in the gym and sparring well. So there's no reason why I shouldn't be ready for them. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. Why do you think it is that you're having difficulty getting opponents? I mean, it seems like it's a fairly stupid question. I mean, it's easy for me to say, but I mean, from me trying to be unbiased, why would you say that it seems to be quite difficult for you to be getting those, as we said, those kind of middle ground fights, those kind of stepping stone fights that you're looking for?
I feel like a lot of people don't want to get beat, just as simple as that. And a lot of people want to protect their role. But even at that, there's been fighters who's been beaten and we've offered it, and they have a lot more experience than me. British, Commonwealth, fought for world titles, and still turned it down. So I can't answer that. But at the same time, if you ask me that, and I have to give you a complete honest answer, I wouldn't want to fight a explosive, fast, slick middleweight myself. Do you know what I mean? If you look at my last two fights where you've seen how aggressive I can be, how technical I can be, and my hand speed and stuff like that. But then you look at the Paul Allison fight, which was in Belfast, where I had a sore hand and I wasn't as aggressive, but I adopted to making him look silly by using my footwork, my head movement, my speed, and stuff like that. So, yeah. I mean, if someone looks at my style and we're to judge it on stylistic, you know what I mean? You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know where you're going to get the aggressive Black Thunder. You're going to get the slick Black Thunder that can turn southpaw, fights orthodox, uses his footwork, head movement, fast hands. You know what I mean? So it's one of them ones where I'm a fighter that's got a bit of everything. And if you're not ready for a bit of everything, if you can't outbox a boxer, if you can't outfight a fighter, then you're not ready for me. Do you know what I mean? So it could be that reason.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I suppose you're relatively, as you said, as like you haven't had that many fights as a pro yet. It might be not so attractive for some of these more experienced guys to go in like a very tough fight against yourself with a very real prospect of losing to a guy who's, you know, at the moment, and your record escapes me now, 9-0, 10-0?
8-0.
8-0. You know, 8-0 came into my head, and then I went, no, I think it's more than that. Go with your instincts, kids. Go with your instincts. 8-0, you know what I mean? Which obviously kind of further proves my point. You know, relatively inexperienced as a pro, not so many fights, but very, very dangerous. So yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? But everything you're saying makes sense. But yeah, like, does it play on your mind not having an opponent when you're training, when you're working up to these fights? I mean, I don't think it would for you so much at this stage of your career, especially. But I wonder, does it, like, when you've been out of the ring for a few months and you're really probably buzzing to get back into the ring and you're supposed to be fighting for a title, and then you're still having these difficulties getting opponents? Like, does that play on your mind? Does it affect how? Just does it affect you mentally as you're going into training, as you're approaching the fight?
No, not at all. Regardless if I have an opponent or not, I watch max 2 rounds, 2 minutes of their fights, and I know what I've got to do. Listen, I was a very experienced amateur where you weigh in for tournaments and you don't know who you're fighting until the day. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So you have no time to prepare for certain fights in the amateurs. And that was at the highest level. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
uh, regardless of whether I've got 6 weeks to prepare for them, or I've got a week, I've got to get in there and perform. I've got
yeah.
to do I've got to be the best Caoimhin Agyarko on the night, and I feel like the best Caoimhin Agyarko on the night beats anybody. So it doesn't really play on my mind mentally. It doesn't even come into my mind. You know what I mean? Regardless of what they bring on the net, I will adopt and beat them. So it's just as simple as that.
Okay, fair enough. Um, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, look, hopefully we can get an opponent named soon. But as you said, it's not that big a deal for you at the moment. But it would be nice to get that title, obviously, to start kind of moving up the rankings and stuff.
Yeah, of course. We got offered a Mexican opponent today, and I've accepted it. So I hope that he accepts it, and we can get it on. And
Excellent.
regardless if it's for a title or not, my next fight will be for a title. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
obviously I've prepared, I've sacrificed so much. I've really put the work in this camp, like trained harder than ever, and it would be nice to have an actual reward for it. But it is what it is. It's out of my control.
Exactly, man. That's exactly it. So get your thoughts on a few fights. Obviously, we talked before Canelo Saunders. You went out, you sparred Billy Joe. You were in the boxing media as Billy Joe's main sparring partner. You did loads of interviews. I think you got loads of attention based on that fight, actually, which is amazing for you. But you backed Billy Joe going into the fight, and unfortunately, he obviously came up a bit short against. I mean, let's face it, you'd probably have to say that, well, the consensus pound for pound number one at the moment in Canelo. What did you think of the fight overall, and what did you think of the stoppage?
I had Billy Joe round up, uh, prior to the stoppage, and we
Mm.
round up. I thought he gave a great account of himself. It was very unfortunate because as he was drawn into the fight, Canelo was going into the fight, and it's one of them ones where Billy would have had to try and take him out of his rhythm. Um, and it didn't go that way. He caught Billy with a great shot, and it should have been stopped 100%. The corner did a great job in pulling Billy out. I know for a fact he would have wanted to go out there and go out in a shield, but listen, for what reasons? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Excuse me. You fight to live another day. It's a bad injury, and there's no point risking your health for it.
exactly. Um, it was a bit mad, wasn't it? Because he was doing really well, but as you said there, he was coming into the fight and he was doing well, but Canelo was also simultaneously coming into the fight in his own way. But that just shows you how kind of stylistically different they are as well. It did look a little bit like Canelo had a good few gears to go up when and if he wanted to, and it looked like he was starting to pick up the pace. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. That's what I mean. Like I feel like Canelo was really coming into the fight, and when Canelo's got gears to go through, it's very unfortunate for you as a fighter. When he's proven the gears he can go through is where I don't think Billy Joe has necessarily proven them gears in terms of really digging deep. He's made it not that every fight's been easy for him, but he's made certain fighters look silly, like Lemieux. Do you know what I mean? Where they've tried to pile the pressure on, and he's just been able to outbox him. But I do feel like Billy still had gears to go through and he could have went through it. But it was just unfortunate that he could caught that punch, that shot, and did the damage, and that it just shows how hard Canelo hits and how good he is.
One punch, and you could see directly like caved his whole eye in. It was mad to watch, really. Like, but how special is Canelo? I mean, obviously the punch was the punch. It was a very well picked shot, but how good is Canelo?
Canelo Alvarez is unbelievable. And he's like, not to say that I'm anything like him, but he in terms of how I describe my style, he's a universal boxer as well. He's someone who can go forward, go backwards, side to side, got great head movement, footwork, and fast hands, and then to top it off, he's so explosive, got the power. So he's somebody that has got a bit of everything, but does everything very well. Do you know what I mean? There's not what can you fault him on? His feints are unbelievable. His ring generalship is unbelievable. His fight IQ is unbelievable. He's got the technical ability to go with it, and he can go through the gears as well as being fast and strong. So he's a fighter that's got everything. And so how do you
and a chin.
beat Canelo Alvarez? And he's got a chin. Do you know what I mean? It's been checked loads of times by Golovkin, one of the biggest punchers in middleweight history. So he's the top dog. Do you know what I mean? He's the real deal.
Yeah, he really is, isn't he? One thing I love about him is his kind of strategy and his ability to stay calm. Like, in that fight, he was like, a lot of people had him kind of losing. A lot of people had him also winning, but it was close. But at no point did he ever look bothered or in any, you know what I mean? At no point does he ever look like he feels like he's in trouble. You know what I mean? Everything is under control. You feel like strategy with him and his coach is so well planned out, and they know exactly when they want to come in to the fight, when they're up in the gears. And they seem to have like a kind of, I think it ties in really well to the ring IQ and the kind of ring generalship. Like, he just has a really good understanding of how to go about fights. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree. You know, he's got the experience, and that just comes through. You gain that through experience. You know what I mean? He's been in there with some of the best fighters in the world, and he's learned to be patient, not rush his work, and pick his shots at the right time, and he believes himself. He believes in himself in the moment. You know what I mean? And it's just proven how good he is, and proving that he can get the win.
Yeah, 100%. So very quickly, where do you think Billy Joe goes from here? A lot of people are calling for him to retire, which I'm not sure about. Like, seems a little bit premature. You know what I mean? Like, he's one loss. He still has plenty left in the tank. If anything, for me, he hasn't, like, he's had kind of stop-starty career over the last few years. He could have had a lot more fights, a lot more big fights, and, you know, give the crowd, give the boxing audience more, and made a few more quid for himself, etc., and achieve more as well. So it'd be a shame to see him retire now, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I wouldn't want to see him retire. He's become a two-weight world champion, an Olympian. He's had a great career. Took one defeat to probably the pound-for-pound champ in a competitive fight.
Yeah.
I mean, it just depends on what does he have left within himself in terms of, does he want to achieve more, or has he achieved everything he wanted to achieve, made enough money, and hasn't got that fire burning in the belly anymore? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So do you know what I mean? It's when you're a multi-millionaire, I'm sure it'd be very hard to wake up and go on them cold runs in the morning, and you could be lying in bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, he's 30, 31 now, so he's come to maybe his peak years or the end of his career. I'd like to see him come back, but personally, I would like to see him go back down to middleweight. I don't think that'll ever happen. I think he's outgrown that weight. But listen, there's a couple of fights there that could get him to world level again. Do you know what I mean? There's fights that he could win. There's the Andrade fight. There's Chris Eubank Jr. He could fight again. He could maybe Golovkin, one of the Charlo brothers. I mean, there's a lot of fights there that could be made. So
those are really good fights there from.
It just depends what he's got left in terms of, is that fire still lit?
Yeah. Does he have desire exactly to keep going? Yeah. Well, look, I hope he doesn't retire anyway. But yeah, as you said, loads of good opponents there from him as well. So hopefully we see Billy Joe back in the ring. But look, man, thank you very much for your time tonight, and best luck in the rest of camp, and best luck for the fight. Yeah.
No problem at all, Sam. Thanks very much.
Talk to you soon, mate. Thanks a lot.
All right.